the Zoom meeting. Is it possible? I'm not really good at all this tech
No problem. No
movements.
problem.
But can we all
Obviously,
see
whatever
my
you need.
screen?
I can see your screen though. Your
Okay.
screen is it's here, and I think it's pinned to as well.
Okay, so everybody can see the screen.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Frances Obuna. I'm a TEFL certified IELTS instructor. TEFL stands for Teaching English as a Foreign Language. It's a certification which instructors take so that they can teach English in any part of the world. And so for this reason, there is no language proficiency exam I cannot teach, especially when it comes to English language. So today we're going to be looking at ACE Your Language Proficiency Exam, a key to unlocking Canadian migration. Right before we start, I would like to clear some terms or let us know about some terms used in Canadian immigration. We have the CRS, which stands for the Comprehensive Ranking System. It's a point-based system used by the Canadian government to rank candidates who want to do the express entry poll. We also have CLB. CLB is the language benchmark. So while CRS is like the total points, CLB is just a part of the points that relates to language. And your language proficiency, for those who don't know what language proficiency means, it means how well do you speak a language. So the thing they used to rank how well you speak a language is called the language proficiency. And CLB for Canada, they use the CLB to rank it. Now, whether or not what you're applying for requires CLB, you would still have to take some form of language proficiency exam. For example, we have TOEFL, we have TEF, we have TCF. So we're just going to look at some terminologies and know what they mean before we start class. So we have head of CELPIP. CELPIP is the Canadian English Language Exam Proficiency Index Program. It's for Canadian immigration and citizenship. We have head of IELTS, which is the International English Language Testing System for academic, immigration, or work. We've heard of TEF, the Test d'Évaluation de Français for French language immigration to Canada. And I'm sure we've all heard of TCF. TCF is an alternative to TEF, which stands for the Test de Connaissance du Français. Now, why I'm explaining these things is because we're going to go into class and I would be using the abbreviations during class. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat box and I will most likely answer it when we are done. All right, so let's start. So when it comes to migration, everybody wants to Japa. Everybody wants to migrate because everybody is migrating. When you're thinking of leaving a country, the first thing you need to ask yourself is, why do I want to migrate? What's my reason? Am I migrating because the economy is hard? And if the economy is hard, what's my plan? Am I going for work? Am I going for study? Am I going for professional registration? By doing this, you have an idea why you are traveling and you're able to know the requirements that are needed. For example, if you're a nurse and you just want to work in the health sector when it comes to Canada, you can go with IELTS General. But if you're a nurse that wants to be recognized as a nurse in Canada, you might have to go with IELTS Academic. Why? Because for IELTS Academic, for professional registration, you need IELTS Academic. So you have to know, why am I migrating? Am I migrating because everybody is migrating? And even if I'm migrating because of that, what is my purpose when I get there? Because by knowing this, you know the exact language proficiency exam to take. I will share a short story. So I have a student who wanted to migrate to UK. Her auntie had told her, oh, travel to UK, blah, blah, blah. And so she booked UKVI. No, she booked IELTS Academic. And so she chatted me up and said, hi, I want to do my prep classes for IELTS Academic. And then I said, okay, what country are you traveling to? I said, oh, I'm going to UK. And I said, okay, so you cannot use IELTS Academic for UK. And she argued and argued. Well, she wrote the exam and she had a band 8.5. That's a really high score. But unfortunately, she was unable to migrate. Why? Because UK requires a particular type of IELTS for you to migrate to UK, which is called UK via IELTS. It's a UK visa and migration IELTS specific for UK. So you have to have an idea why you want to migrate. This will guide you on what next to do. So the next thing you have to understand is which exam do you need. Now, for Canada, there are several exams you can write. You can either write IELTS. IELTS has IELTS academic for university admission, professional registration, and immigration purposes. There's IELTS general, that's for non-academic purposes such as immigration, vocational training, and work experience. Then there's the CELPIP. CELPIP is used for express entry, professional certification, and work permits in Canada. Then there's one that is not listed here, known as TOEFL. TOEFL IBT is accepted by universities and institutions for admission purposes, and it can also be used for immigration and professional certification. Now, under the French exams, there's TEF. TEF is used for immigration purposes, especially for express entry and Quebec immigration programs. There's TEF used for admission to French language schools and universities. There's TCF permits and professional certification, migration to Quebec, used to assess French. There's TCF pour la demande university admission purposes. Specific. So you have to have an Okay, so let me reshare my screen. I think something happened, so I'm just going to reshare my screen. All right. I hope we can all see my screen. So, which exam suits which immigration path? For express entry, you can use IELTS General, you can use CELPIP, you can use TEF, you can use TCF. For study, you must use academic. Any one you're using, whether the TEF, the call, whichever one you choose to use, it must be the academic version. Then for work, it depends. You can use general or you can use academic. And for family sponsorship, most times you just need the general. So there are band score requirements and CLB equivalents. So I'm going to go quickly to my previous PDF I was sharing so that we look at the requirements. I'm just going to scroll down to the parts that, covers everything. Usually for CLB, they ask for 7. Your CLB needs to start from 7. So now for 7, what this means in IELTS terms is that you must have a band 7 or a band 6, between band 6 to band 7. But it's preferable to have a band 7. For CELPIP, it means you have to have a band 7. For TEF Canada, you need to have 310 to 348 points. And for TCF, you need to have 458 to 502 points. Now, for express entry, you generally need a CLB 7 or higher. For French speakers, you need to score CLB 7 plus. That means the higher you go, the better for you. And then for academic or general, simply use IELTS General or CELPIP, usually band 7. So let's go back to which exam we need. Now, what's inside the exam? Now, most of these exam structures are similar. Why? Because it's a language proficiency exam. So they almost use the same thing. They all check your listening, your reading, your writing, and your speaking. They have similar question types, from comprehension questions in reading to comprehension questions in listening or multiple choice questions. to essay writing, letter writings, and to random questions during speaking that look like everyday life. Now, there are tips that you must learn for each of these tests. And funny enough, they have similar tips. But when it comes to the listening, usually listening is only played once. And for this reason, you have to listen actively. For reading, you have to understand how to skim and scan and how to manage your time. I had a student tell me 2 days ago, she said, I don't know how you do it though, but I cannot, there's no way I can read the entire comprehension and pass. And then I told her, you're not supposed to read the entire comprehension when it comes to reading because you most likely fail. You're expected to skim and scan the comprehension passage and then answer your questions. So skimming is very easy. Skimming is simply the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines of each paragraph of the passage to get an idea of what the passage is talking about. While scanning is using the keywords in the question to find the answer. So if the question says, John's jacket was dash, you find the keywords. What are the keywords? John, jackets. So you have an idea that you're looking for color, or maybe John's jacket was dash color. So you find the color, you find jacket, and you find John in your passage and try and have an idea of what color it was. That is under reading. Under writing, the structures are similar. Task response, make sure you answer all the questions. Lexical resources, make sure you use vocabulary that align with the topic you're being asked to write about. Grammatical range and accuracy, look at your tenses. For the French exam, look at your conjugations. And then cohesion and coherence, meaning what you're writing should make sense to your examiner. It should also make sense to you. So make sure you use the right paragraphs. Make sure you use words like additionally, firstly, secondly, although, so that they have an idea what you're talking about and you're not writing off points. Now under speaking, their marking guide is almost the same. There's fluency. When you're talking, don't pause, don't say instead, if you have a speaking assessment and you don't understand what your examiner is saying, simply ask them to come again. Coherence. When you're speaking on a topic, try not to go off points. So if you're asked, for example, do you have a pet? Oh yes, I have a pet. I have a brown Rottweiler that is 5 inches tall. It has a black tail and is quite furry. Don't start telling us how your Rottweiler beat somebody yesterday. That's now going off points from the question. Also try to paraphrase the question when you're answering. These tips are applicable to both English and French tests. Finally, in pronunciation, you don't have to fake an accent. Because you're doing a French assessment does not mean that you must have the accent of a Frenchman. No. Just make sure you pronounce the words correctly. If you're doing an IELTS exam, you don't have to fake an accent of someone who's British. You can actually use your Nigerian accent and pronounce words. Just make sure you pronounce words correctly. Don't say stadium instead of stadium. Don't say module instead of mojo. Find out the correct way of pronouncing words before you go in for an exam. And finally, don't let this kill your scores. Don't overthink questions. It is better for you to look at a question and give it your best shot than to stay on that question and you lose all your hours or your minutes in terms of assessments. Try not to repeat phrases. Try to use synonyms when answering questions. Also follow the instructions. Sometimes what's in the French and English exams, you will see use not more than 3 words. Use not more than 2 words. Please use not more than the number of words that they've asked you to use. Because when you use more than that, you're most likely to fail. And grammar versus clarity is not enough to know plenty words, whether in English or in French. You have to be able to use it well. Because when you finish writing plenty words inside your essay and it doesn't make any sense, then you won't score any points, no matter what you've written there. And accent confusion, don't fake an accent. Speak with your Nigerian accent, pronounce your words properly, and I can assure you that you would have one of the highest scores in your test. You can also prep with us for your CELPIP and IELTS prep. Like I said earlier on, I'm a TEFL instructor, certified instructor, meaning that I can teach any English exam. And you can also prep with French Lately. French Lately, she's on Instagram, and she's a French instructor that I can vouch for any day, anytime. Not only does she speak French as a first language, she has helped a lot of students migrate successfully, and she's helped a lot of students score high points in TCF and TEF. So she's someone that I can vouch for any day, anytime. So you can reach out to her and tell her that you came from the Japa Express webinar. Now, frequently asked questions about language proficiency. What if I don't want to take IELTS or I don't want to take CELPIP? What if I just want to show them my university results? Would they accept it? Well, while some schools in Canada might accept it, okay, you don't want to take English proficiency, you just want to go to school. Some schools might accept a letter from your university stating that your last mode of instruction or language of instruction was English. Some schools might not accept it. And when it comes to express entry, you must take a language proficiency exam. If you're a nurse or you're a doctor, it is required, because even if you're not asked for it when you're migrating, at some point you will need it. And IELTS expires within 2 years. I think the rest, they have other years that they expire. So it is best to take the exam once and for all and forget about it. And a lot of students say, okay, so it's expensive, so how do I go about it? Start with your prep classes. I've had students come to me, they can't speak French, they don't have any knowledge of French before, but they want to take TEF and they want to take it within 1 month. It's not possible. If you know you want to take TEF or you want to take TCF, it is best that you start with a beginner's class. So you can reach out to French Lately and ask her for her beginner classes. Start it at A1, do the A2, and then now do the TEF practice when you get to B1. So you might need to do like almost 9 months worth of classes before joining for TEF or TCF. For IELTS, if you're an English speaker, sometimes you might need to do up to 2 months, 3 months, 6 months worth of classes before you get it. So I'm going to stop here today, and I hope to see us in the next webinar series. Thank you so much, Ibube. It's been fun speaking with you guys. Speaking to you guys. God bless.